A very important topic for the prelims examination is places in news, especially related to the world. As traditional, you would study this is there, with what is where. But then when places in news is there, when you get the news from, when you get the places from the current affairs, that dimension is asked in your prelims examination. So we quickly move on to the topic. So we are talking about the places in news. Hello everyone. Welcome to PW Only IS English channel. I'm Dimple Nankani, the faculty for Geography and Environment. I teach in Titan batches in the English medium channel. We've covered a lot of videos for your upcoming prelims examination. A very important topic for the prelims examination is places in news, especially related to the world aspect. Lot of places in news comes in your current affairs, and that becomes a part of your prelims examination. World map, as traditional, you would study this is there, with what is where. But then when places in news is there, when you get the news from, when you get the places from the current affairs, that dimension is asked in your prelims examination. So we've quickly move on to the topic. So we are talking about the places in news. One place that has been there in news is this Somaliland. So if I talk about this one, so this is the map of Africa. Here you will see in the map of Africa, this is one part. You have, this is the country of Somalia. This one is the country of Somalia. But a portion of Somalia, the one portion of Somalia, they have tried to declare independence. That is called as Somaliland. So this has been in news because Somalia and Ethiopia, they have been over a long time dispute. They have this issue over how to give access, the access to sea. Ethiopia does not have access to sea. Now what Ethiopia wants an access to sea, and there have been dispute between Ethiopia and Somalia. So this is your Ethiopia. This is the region of Ethiopia. They want access to the sea, and Somalia is not allowing the access to sea. So what Ethiopia has done, they have signed a deal. They have signed a deal with the separatist. The separatist, that is Somaliland. They've signed a deal with the separatist that will allow them have an access to the sea. So that they can have an access to sea, they have signed a deal with them. Now, if I talk about what Somaliland, they have declared independence from the region of Somalia. So this was the entire Somalia. Part of Somalia has been declared as Somaliland. They have declared independence from the entire Somalia when there was in 1991, when there was a civil war that was going in Somalia. Okay? Now, it is still an unrecognized state. That is where it is situated along the Horn of Africa. So if you look at the entire Africa, this is the map of the entire Africa here. This is the map of entire Africa. Here you can look, a portion of Africa is called as Horn of Africa. So Somaliland and Somalia is a part of that Horn of Africa. Where is this Horn of Africa? You can see this. This part of Africa is called as Horn of Africa. What is the mnemonic? The mnemonic for you to remember is seed. Seed is the mnemonic that you can remember. That includes, what does the Horn of Africa includes? Somalia, Ethiopia, Djibouti and Eritrea. So therefore seed, Somalia, Ethiopia, Eritrea and Djibouti. So these are included in the Horn of Africa. Why this is called? Because it looks like a horn. It resembles like a horn here. Therefore it is called as Horn of Africa. So here, this is Somaliland, which is unrecognized. This is also located along the Horn of Africa. And you can also see that there is a bordering. You have, if you look at the map of Africa, you have a bordering place, that is this one. This is the map of Africa. This is the Horn of Africa. Here what do you have? You have Red Sea here. You have the Red Sea here. This is the region of Red Sea. And you also have Gulf here, Gulf of Aden. So one of the bordering part is what? The Gulf of Aden here. So Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. So this was in news. What is Somaliland? Why was there in news? Where is Ethiopia? Does Ethiopia have access to sea or not? And what Ethiopia has done to have the access to sea? This is what is about the Somaliland. What is Horn of Africa? You should know. The countries that make up on the Horn of Africa are shown here. You will see these are the countries that make up the Horn of Africa, the seed countries. Okay, so this is there in news, the bordering part. The next in news that we have is Mount Merapi. Mount Merapi is in the Indonesian island of Sumatra. So we have Indonesian islands. So this is your map of Indonesia. This is the entire map of Indonesia. Here there was one volcanism that took place. Then the volcanism that took place was at about Mount Merapi. These are the Indonesian islands. You should know what are the Indonesian islands. This is your Sumatra. This is Java. You have Bali here. You have Lombok here. You have Kalimantan here. You have Sulawesi here. You have Maluka Islands and Irian Jaya. So you have these as the islands. What are the Indonesian islands? Sumatra, Java, Bali, Lombok. Here you also have a Borneo Island. The Borneo Island basically is shared by 3 countries. Here you will see this is a part of Malaysia. This is a part of Indonesia. This one is a part of Brunei. So this is the entire Borneo Island. Borneo Island, the part of Indonesia. The part of Indonesia is called as Kalimantan. So Sumatra, Kalimantan, you have Sulawesi here, and you also have a part of this Irian Jaya, the Irian Jaya. So these are the major islands of Indonesia. I'll just repeat. So the mnemonic that I generally use, I use the mnemonic in Hindi because the mnemonics are generally in Hindi. Soja Bali, Lombdi aane wali hai. So Soja Bali. Soja is Sumatra. Ja is Java, Bali is Bali, Lombdi is Lombok. So these are the islands, west to east. Soja, Bali, Lombdi aane wali hai, Sumatra, Java, Bali and Lombok. And on top of it, you have what? KSMI. 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 Kalimantan. S is Sulawesi. Then you have Molucca Islands and then you have Irian Jaya Islands. So these are the islands. Soja, Bali, Lombdi aane wali hai, and you have KSMI. Kalimantan, Sulawesi, Molucca Islands and Irian Jaya Islands. These are what? Indonesian islands. Why this has been in use? Because there was along the Java Islands, there is this Mount Merapi. The Mount Merapi that has erupted. So Mount Merapi on the Indonesian islands of this one has recently erupted. They have recently erupted. This is Mount Merapi. Merapi is basically considered as one of the most active volcanoes. So you'll see Mount Merapi. It has a eruption frequency, that is frequently it erupts. The eruption is yellow. The threat level is yellow. Basically, if I talk about the eruption of lot of volcanism, the green one, there's eruption frequency and the danger. If I talk about green one, the green, it is basically it is not showing the signs of volcanic activity. The green one means it is safe, right? Yellow is moderate, that the one with yellow threat are showing of increased activity that may show the potential eruption in near future, and red one, that they have a very high likelihood of erupting. So if the volcanoes in the world, some will erupt. You can also name it as active, dormant and extinct. So this can be extinct, this can be dormant, and this is active. Active, high threat level, red level. The dormant one, they can erupt anytime in future, that is yellow level. Mount Merapi is dormant one, and extinct is someone that has very low chances of eruption, no signs of eruption, therefore one. So here you can see the frequent continuous volcano is basically non-stop, red color, non-stop. The periodicity is followed by dormancy, right? And then you have multiple times per decade. So Mount Merapi is classified as what? Mount Merapi is classified as the dormant one. There are other dormant also. You can see Etna, Mount Etna in Sicily, the lighthouse of Mediterranean. This is also the yellow threat level. You also see along Kyushu, you also have one volcanism, famous place volcano, that is Sakurajima. That is also yellow threat level. So yellow threat level, you can see Mount Etna of Sicily, you can see Mount Merapi, you can see along the island, Iceland, you can also see along the Japan. The red one, that is continuously eruption, that is your Popocatépetl, that is Mexico. There's continuous eruption that can happen. Stromboli is basically called as the lighthouse of Mediterranean. Stromboli, it is erupting. So Stromboli is active and it is frequently erupting. You can also see along Vanuatu also you have a Mount Yasur. So there are some active, there are some yellow level. Hawaii, basically it is considered as a safe level. The eruption frequency is continuous, but it is safe. Somewhere in the mid of the oceans that you have. right? In reunion also, these are the two hot spots that we generally study in geography. The hot spot where there is continuous eruption, but then there's not much threat level. So French reunion island, the frequency is periodic, but it is safe level. Even Hawaii is a safe level. So this is the one, right? So they do not have as much of issues. One is Hawaii and one is the French reunion. Stromboli, the lighthouse Mediterranean, that is active. We also have other active in the form of Mexico, Guatemala, Vanuatu. And why we are studying in news? We are studying the news because of the Mount Merapi. Okay? So this wasn't there in news. The second that you should know much of the volcanic activities. Why do volcanic activities take place? Volcanism is because it can be along, I'm going to some traditional topics, plate tectonics. The volcanism can be experienced along divergent boundaries. The divergent boundaries. It can also be experienced along convergent boundaries. Especially what type of convergent boundaries? You can have ocean convergence and you can have ocean continent convergence. So convergent boundary as well as divergent boundaries. So you should know that there is a pattern to volcanism. It is not randomly associated. There's some boundaries where you have associated volcanism with the hotspot activities. The hotspot activities. These are the pattern that you have. Now, a very famous concept that you should know to volcanism is, even if you look at this map, you will see this is the map. This is the map of the world. It is the volcanism where you have wherever volcanism you have, they are not random. There is something, there is a phenomena that is associated. If I talk about this one, there is this ring. There is this ring where you see a lot of volcanism. Again, this is the entire ring where you see a lot of volcanism. The entire ring that we have, we would know this is which ocean. This is your Pacific Ocean. This is the Pacific Ocean. This is the Pacific Ocean. This is the Pacific Ocean. So what do you call this as? You call this as Pacific Ring of Fire. The Pacific Ring of Fire. You also have along the Mediterranean Sea. You also have along the Mediterranean Sea. Majority of the islands, you'll see majority of the volcanism. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They are along what? They are along this ring and along the Mediterranean region also. So what is this? Why there is a pattern to volcanism? This is because of the boundaries. What are the boundaries that we have? What are the boundaries that we have for volcanism? The boundaries, you have divergent boundaries, you have convergent boundaries. You also have hotspot activities. Divergent boundaries mostly seen along the Atlantic Ocean. Mostly seen along the Atlantic Ocean. Convergent boundaries, you can see it along OO and OC, ocean convergence and ocean continent convergence. This is nothing but the Pacific Ocean. On one side of the Pacific, you have ocean convergence, and on the other side, you have ocean continent convergence. If I talk about hotspot, the hotspot, we have two examples of hotspot. One is Hawaii that we have seen, and the other example of hotspot is a French reunion hotspot. The French reunion hotspot. We have seen both of them now. If I talk about the Pacific Ocean, on this side of the Pacific Ocean, on the eastern side of the Pacific Ocean, this is the east side of the Pacific. On the eastern side of the Pacific Ocean, you have what? You have ocean continent convergence. We'll see in the animation. On the western Pacific, on the western side of the Pacific, you have ocean convergence. That on one side you have ocean convergence, on the other side you have ocean continent convergence. So if you look at this, this is the image of, or this is the animation of ocean convergence. Here, this is one ocean slab, this is the other ocean slab. Both of the ocean slab are interacting. One ocean slab is subducting inside the mantle. So these are the two ocean slab. One of them is subducting. As it is subducting, it is melting. As it is melting, there is volcanic eruption that is going on. You can see this. This is the Aleutian Islands or the Northern American. This Pacific plate and the other Pacific plate are interacting. One of them is subducting, going inside the mantle. As it is going inside the mantle, the temperature is high. As the temperature is high, it is melting. As it is melting, you will have eruption that is taking place. So this is what ocean-ocean convergence. Where did we see the ocean-ocean convergence? We saw the ocean-ocean convergence on this side, the Japanese side, the Southeast Asian side, as well as the Australian side. This is the ocean-ocean convergence. On this side you have what? On this side you have ocean continent convergence. Let me show what is ocean continent convergence. That on one side you will have a oceanic plate, on the other side you will have the continental plate. The ocean plate will subduct. As the ocean plate will subduct, it will melt. As it will melt, it will puncture the continent, and you will have volcanism. You will have volcanism that is taking place. So you have this as the ocean continent, which along which side? Along the American side. Along the American side. And what about the ocean? This is along the Japanese side, Southeast Asian side, as well as Australian side. So this is your ocean and ocean continent convergence. If I talk about, this is the Pacific Ring of Fire, you can see. So this one, there's a lot of volcanism that takes place. You will have what? You can see the volcanism like along Karakatau you had. Here only you saw Mount Merapi also. So you had along the Karakatau region. You also had Mount Merapi here. You have Pinatobu. You have Mount Mayon. These are what? These are volcanic activities. Mount Pinatobu, Mount Mayon. This is the. You also have along the Aleutian Islands. You have along Mount St. Helens. You have along Garibaldi. So these are the places where you have lot of volcanism. Therefore called as ring of fire. You'll see a lot of fire along here, and this is in a form of ring. This is called as the Pacific Ring of Fire. On the American side, the ocean side of the Pacific is subducting under the continental plate, and in this side the ocean slab is subducting under the other part of the ocean. So this part of the Pacific Ocean is subducting under a smaller part of the Pacific Ocean. So Pacific Ring of Fire. So Mount Merapi, and why volcanism and which island, that you should know. So lot of questions come from current affairs linking it to the static understanding. So that is why we are covering like this. The next one that we have in news is Lake Victoria. This is the Lake Victoria. Why was this in news? Because the Indian Center for Science and Environment and the Tanzania's National Environment Management Councils. So two of them, the Indian Council for Science and Environment and Tanzania's National Environment Management Council. So Tanzania, this is Tanzania. Okay, yeah. Both India and Tanzania, they together held a dialogue. They held a multi-stakeholder consultation in Dar es Salaam for what? To strategizing the Lake Victoria's restoration. So Lake Victoria, there's a lot of problem going on. So how do you restore this? How do you restore this famous lake in Africa? That is your Lake Victoria. Now if you talk about Lake Victoria, this is Lake Victoria. It is surrounded by 3 countries. The 3 countries that we have is, the short form that I generally use or I have used for myself is KUT. K-U-T. K-U-T. You have Kenya on one side, you have Uganda on one side, and you have Tanzania on one side. So Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania. These are the 3 countries which is surrounding the Lake Victoria. So whenever I hear the word Lake Victoria, KUT comes in my mind. Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania. India and Tanzania, they held together a dialogue on how to restore the Lake Victoria. Okay? Now, if there are a lot of lakes in Africa, One of the lake is Lake Victoria. If I talk about Lake Victoria, it is basically the world's largest, tropical lake. In the tropical latitude, one of the largest lake that we have is Lake Victoria, and it is second largest freshwater lake. So it's also freshwater lake after Lake Superior in North America. So Lake Superior in North America is the freshwater lake, and then the second one is Lake Victoria. The second one is Lake Victoria after Lake Superior. This is the second largest freshwater and the world's largest tropical lake. Okay. The next one, what are the countries? The bordering countries are KUT. We have already seen that. What is the source of the water? The freshwater lake is there. So the source of water is river, as well as the source of the water is rainwater, freshwater. Which is the river that is there? You have Kagera River. You have the Kagera River, that is the freshwater. That is the river that is tributary, that is the largest tributary, the Lake Victoria, as well as you have rainfall. If I talk about Lake Victoria itself is a source of White Nile. The White Nile river flows through Lake Victoria and it is eventually joined by Blue Nile. So White Nile comes from Victoria. Generally, I give this example that this is the Kagera river. Okay, this provides the water to Lake Victoria, and the source, one river that gets sourced from Lake Victoria is White Nile. Then White Nile is joined by Blue Nile. That becomes Nile river. That becomes finally the Nile river. So I used this example: Queen Victoria, white skin; Lake Victoria, White Nile. Okay, so White Nile comes from there. Okay, moving on. Then the lake is situated at an elevated plateau. Okay, so the lake is at an elevated plateau, but the lake is not a part of Rift Valley. You should know this. Lake Victoria is a very important fact. It is not a part of Rift Valley. It is not a part of the Rift Valley. Lake Victoria is not a part of the Rift. Now, what is Rift Valley? What do we mean by this? So this is Africa present. If I talk about the Africa, this is the present day Africa. This is the present day Africa, and this is the future of Africa. Okay, what do we mean by that? Let's say millions of years later, Africa would be whatever you see of Africa today, it would be half. It would be split into half. So this part, you will see that this part of Africa, a portion of Africa, can get cut. So this can become the western part, this can become the eastern part. So African continent will break. Why will it break? The reason for breaking of Africa would be that there's something from in the interior of the earth. There's something in the interior of the earth that is breaking the plate. So if I talk about, let's say this is the African plate, okay, the present day African plate. Something is coming from the interior of the earth. It is trying to puncture. It is trying to puncture the plate, and this plate will then be broken. So what is there in the interior of the earth that is trying to puncture the region of Africa? In the African region, just below the African region, you have a divergent boundary. You have a divergent boundary. So let's say this is the plate of Africa. Just below the Africa, you have, just below the region of Africa, you have a rising convectional current and you have a divergent convectional current. The rising convectional current and a diverging convectional current, and this diverging convectional current is trying to puncture the plate, and this plate then will be split into two parts, part 1 and part 2. It will be split into two parts, rising and diverging convectional current. Convectional current, heat related current. So this is rising current and this is the diverging current. So what is happening? Just below the Africa, you have this rising boundary and you have a diverging boundary. This is the mantle part. The mantle part, this is the crust part. Probably below inside you will have the core part. So this in the mantle you have a rising and you have the rising and you have the diverging current. So this is what is happening in Africa. Now as this is happening, you can see the Rift Valley here. The red color is the Rift Valley. If I have to show the Rift Valley here on the red color, I can show it on the map. This is the Rift Valley. This is the Rift Valley. This is the Rift Valley. Along the Rift Valley, you will have a lot of lakes. Something that is breaking the plate. As the plate gets broken, right, there will be waterfalls. There will also be sea level rise. As there is sea level rise, because the plate is getting broken, you will have lot of lakes. You can see there are a lot of lakes along the Rift Valley. What are the lakes along the Rift Valley? What are the lakes along the Rift Valley? You have Lake Malawi. You have Lake Rukwa. You have Lake Tanganyika. You have Lake Kivu, Edward, Albert, Turkana. Okay, these are the lakes along the Rift Valley. You can also see this is the Kagera River. The Kagera River that gives water to the Lake Victoria. You can also see there is Victoria Nile, that is your White Nile. Okay, White Nile. Okay. Now, what are the lakes along the Rift Valley? The lakes that we have along the Rift Valley, you can see this here: Rukwa, Albert, Edward, Kivu, Tanganyika, Turkana. Okay, so Turkana and Tanganyika, 2T, Albert, Edward, AE. You have Kivu and you have Rukwa. So just some names that you should know. However, you will see that Lake Victoria is not a part of the Rift Valley. It is not formed because the continent is getting split. Lake Victoria was present before also, and it will be present even after the Africa breaks. This is Lake Victoria. So Lake Victoria is not a part of the Rift Valley. It is not formed because the continent is breaking, because the plate is breaking. No, it was there in the initial also. Even after the plate breaks, it will not be there. So you can see these are the lakes which are part of the Rift Valley. These one: Lake Tanganyika, Lake Turkana, Lake Edward, Lake Albert, Lake Rukwa. These are the lakes that are formed. This one, this one. They are formed because of the rifting, and they will disappear. They will disappear, and you will have an ocean itself. So this is about the Great African Rift Valley, and you should know that Lake Victoria is not a part of the Great African Rift Valley. Moving on to the new one, to the new topic. So we've done Somaliland, we've done Lake Victoria. So now moving on to the next topic that we have these two things. We've also done Pacific Ring of Fire. We've understood Mount Merapi. You have done these part. I'm linking the static part of geography with this. Moving on to the next one that we have in news is Greenland. Now, why Greenland is news? Obviously, summer heating, global warming, the melting of the ice sheet. That is why this is there in news. Over thousands of gigatons, or 20% of the edges of the Greenlands. The edges of the Greenland, you can see the red color, they have been lost in the past few decades. So there's a lot of edge of the ice along the Greenland that is melting, and that has been lost over last 40 years. What about the Greenland? We know that it is the world's largest island. It lies in the, so this is the world's largest island. This lies to the the northeast of the Canada. It is an autonomous territory of Denmark. To the northeast of Canada it is there. Denmark is the autonomous, it is the autonomous territory. The capital that you have is Nuuk. You can see Nuuk here. The bordering region that you have on the northern side, you have the Arctic Ocean. On the eastern side, you have the North Atlantic Ocean. On the western side, you will have Baffin Bay. You will have Davis Strait. So these are there. So Baffin Bay is there, Davis Strait is there. This is Nuuk, which is the capital. You have Denmark Strait. You have Atlantic Ocean here. You have the Arctic Ocean in the north. So the Arctic Ocean in the north, the Atlantic Ocean in the east, the Baffin Bay and the Davis Strait on the western side. That is what you have for the Greenland. There's melting of the ice sheet that is happening. You'll see that Greenland and the northern part of the country, Iceland, Finland, the Sweden, Norway, they are famous for auroras. So a lot of good auroras are also seen here. What are auroras? Basically beautiful, colorful lights that you get in the sky. The northern sky, the northern lights, they are there present in the southern hemisphere also. But right now I'm just talking about the northern hemisphere. The beautiful, colorful lights that you get in the sky is that can be seen in the night sky is called as auroras. Why are auroras seen? This is, can you see the green color light? The auroras are seen because of the solar wind. Solar winds means the charged particle from the sun. So charged particle from the sun interact with the earth's magnetic field. The earth has its magnetic field. Both of them interact, and as there is interaction, you will see colorful light. The green, violet, purple, pink color light that you can see, and this is more visible in the northern part, called this the northern light, or the aurora borealis. Northern part, especially along the Arctic Circle and the North Pole. That is, even in the southern hemisphere, basically not much seen in the tropics. However, there have been instances of this being seen in the tropics also. Right now my topic is Greenland, therefore I'm talking about Greenland and the northern lights. So the northern lights that is formed because of the interaction of the solar winds and the magnetic field of the earth. That is called as this is called as the auroras. Beautiful light that is seen in the Greenland and the northern hemisphere. The next in news that we have is Delos Island. Okay, now Delos Islands, basically it is why they're again in news because of global warming again. The scientists, they have said that the climate change induced rising sea level. As there is global warming, there's increased absorption of the CO2 by the oceans, as well as there is thermal expansion of the ocean gets heated, it gets expanded, and there's rise in the sea level. So there's rise in the sea level because of the global warming. Now what the scientists have said that due to climate change induced rising sea level, there is a small island in the Aegean Sea. This is the Aegean Sea. Okay, in the Aegean Sea, there is an island that could disappear within the next 50 days. Lot of islands can get disappeared because of the global warming related sea level rise. One of the island that has been in use is Delos Island. Now this Delos Island, why is this so important? Because it has also been recognized by UNESCO. UNESCO has recognized this as the World Heritage Site. It is important for its archaeological remains. It is important for the Greek architecture. It is considered as sacred in the ancient Greece. So you have Greece here, you'll see. You have the Greece here. So here you have the Greece part of Europe. You have Ionian Sea here. There is this sea which is called as the Ionian Sea. Ionian Sea. You have Aegean Sea here. You have the Aegean Sea. This is the Aegean Sea where you've seen the Delos Island which could disappear over the next 50 years. This is the Aegean Sea. Here you have the Sea of Crete. Here you have the Sea of the Crete. So you have Aegean Sea, you have the Sea of Crete, you have the Ionian Sea. Ionian Sea, Aegean Sea and the Sea of Crete. In the Aegean Sea we saw an island. The island was Delos Island. The island was the Delos Island. The island was the Delos Island. Okay. So what is this here? Why this has been in news? Because of the global warming. Now, what kind of questions does UPSC ask? The question that UPSC keeps on asking is about the sea. A very important topic that UPSC has, UPSC keeps in mind is the Mediterranean Sea and the surrounding region. The Mediterranean Sea and the surrounding region is an important topic that UPSC keeps on asking. So if I talk about the map of the world, let me first draw something for you and then we can understand in a better manner. So let's say this is the part of Africa. Let's say this is the part of Africa. Okay, we've already seen this part. You've seen the Horn of Africa, you've seen the Somaliland, you've also looked at the Gulf of Aden, you've also looked at the Great African Rift Valley, the Mediterranean Sea, the Red Sea, the Gulf of Aden, that we've looked at. Now, this is a part of Africa. Here you have, so on one side you have Africa. This is Africa. Okay. On this side, on the east side, you have the Asia. Saudi Arabia, the West Asian region. And on one side, you have the European country, the European part. The European is this, the European region. You have Asia here. Okay. At the confluence of Asia, Africa and Europe is your Mediterranean Sea. This Mediterranean Sea, UPSC has asked question twice. Along the Mediterranean Sea, there are also other seas which are important. Like, I'll just first list it down for you. What are the important seas that you have here? You have Mediterranean Sea, that is important. You have Red Sea, that is important here. You should know about Gulf of Aden. You should know about, I'll just list down first for you. You should know about Gulf of Aqaba. Okay. Know about Persian Gulf, the surrounding Persian Gulf here. Here somewhere here along Iran. Persian Gulf. Know about Dead Sea. Apart from this, you should also know about important sea here, that is your Black Sea. Know about the Dardanelles Strait. Dardanelles Strait. Know about the strait or the sea of, or Bosporus Strait. Bosporus Strait. Okay. Know about the Sea of Azov. Where is Sea of Azov? You should know about Ionian Sea, the Adriatic Sea. Okay. These are the important seas that you should. Apart from this, in the world map, you should also know about Caspian Sea. The Caspian Sea, not sea in the literal sense, but a very large lake, therefore called as sea. Know where is Caspian Sea? Okay. Know about Aral Sea. Aral Sea. Moving on to the Central Asian part, Europe, Asia and Africa. Okay. So one thing that UPSC has asked twice question, they have asked question on Mediterranean Sea, they have asked question on Dead Sea, they have asked question on Black Sea, they've also asked question on Red Sea. Okay, so here let us first move on to the Mediterranean Sea. Let us first move on to the Mediterranean Sea and the seas of the world. Here, this one is Africa. This part is West Asia. We've seen this is the West Asian part, this is the African part, and this is the European part. So if I elaborate this part, for you, here, you'll see the seas of the world. Here, which is this sea? This is the African part. Okay, I am coloring the African part in red. I'm coloring the African boundary in red. I'm coloring the African boundary in the red. I'm coloring the Asian boundary. The Asian boundary in Eurasian boundary. Europe and Asia. Eurasian boundary, I'm coloring it with pink. With pink. Here you can see. Now, this is the Mediterranean Sea. This is Italy. Looks like the boot. A boot part is Italy. So this is the Mediterranean Sea. Okay. Here you have two important islands. You have an island of Corsica and Sardinia. These are the two important islands along Italy. Corsica Island and Sardinia Island. Okay. If in case you want me to write the spelling of it, the spelling is Corsica. Corsica, and you have Sardinia. These are the islands. Here you can see on one side of this side, on the west side of the Italy, you have a sea called as a Tyrrhenian Sea. Tyrrhenian Sea. Tyrrhenian Sea. Okay. Here to the down you have Ionian Sea. Ionian Sea. This is the Ionian Sea that you have. The Ionian Sea. And to the east of Italy you have Adriatic Sea. You have a sea called as Adriatic Sea. Now I have done the listing for you. This was the one. You've looked at the Ionian Sea, Adriatic Sea. You should know where is it. You should know where is it. So the Ionian Sea, the Adriatic Sea and the Tyrrhenian Sea along Italy. Along Italy, on one side you have Tyrrhenian, on one side you have Ionian, on one side you have Adriatic, the Adriatic Sea. Okay, what was the island? This was the island of Corsica, this was the island of Sardinia. Okay, where is this? This is the Mediterranean Sea. Now, you also have an island of Sicily, the island of Sicily, the island of Sicily. Okay, this is the Sicily Island. Sicily Island. Yeah. Now moving on to the seas. Here you look at along Greece. This is the part of Greece. Along Greece you have a sea called as Aegean Sea. Here only you saw the Delos Island. The Delos Island that could vanish in the next 50 years is a part of what? Is a part of Aegean Sea. Aegean. Aegean Sea. Okay. As you move from Aegean, okay, now I'm taking a journey from Aegean. I'll just erase this part. As I'm moving from the Aegean Sea, okay, I have a short form here. I have a short form here to understand the movement from the Mediterranean to the Black Sea. Okay, what are the seas? One, you have Aegean Sea. This is the Aegean Sea. This one is the Aegean Sea. Aegean. Aegean Sea. Okay. Then you have here, you have a strait. You have a strait that is called as, the strait is known as Dardanelles Strait. Dardanelles Strait. Okay, the Dardanelles Strait. Then you have a sea. You have this sea. This sea is called as the Sea of Marmara. This is called as the Sea of Marmara. The Sea of Marmara. I will tell you the short form. The Sea of Marmara. Marmara. Then you have a strait called as Bosporus Strait. Bosporus Strait. Okay. Then you have a Black Sea. This is the Black Sea. And then you have the Sea of Azov. As I'm moving from this part, okay, we had Tia, Tyrrhenian, Ionian, Adriatic. Then you have Greece. Then from the Greece you have Aegean Sea. Age ho gayi, I'll tell you the short form. Age ho gayi, age means you've aged. Age ho gayi, dard hone laga, there's pain. As you age, there are pain in the hand, there's pain in the leg, there's pain in the knees. Aegean, Dardanelles. Okay. Mar gaye, died. Over the time, that's the death is the reality of life. Sea of Marmara. When death happens, bus. Everything is bus, everything is stopped. Strait of Bosporus. Then there's cremation or there is burning. Black, everything is black in color. Black Sea. And then you have Azov. You've gone to the heaven, Azov. Okay, so how is it? It is Tyrrhenian, Ionian, Adriatic. Then you move, as you move, you have Aegean Sea, Dardanelles Strait. Okay, Dardanelles Strait. Then you have Marmara, Bosporus, Black Sea, Sea of Azov. The Sea of Azov. So you're moving like this. Okay, I've told you the story. Aegean, Dardanelles, Marmara, Bosporus, Black Sea, and the Sea of Azov. So these are the important seas that I was listing for you. I have told you from Mediterranean Sea, you move on. As from the Mediterranean Sea, you've seen, as you from the Mediterranean Sea, you move on, you have Tyrrhenian, Ionian, Adriatic, Aegean Sea. Okay, so Aegean Sea, I'll write it from here. Aegean, Dardanelles, dard ho gaya. Marmara, Bosporus, Black, Azov. So I've given you idea about the Azov, Bosporus, Dardanelles. Okay, Caspian Sea. Where do you have Caspian Sea? Along Kazakhstan, Russia, and others. Qatar is the short form. I'll tell you some other time. Aral Sea you have along Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. Persian Gulf. Where do you have Persian Gulf? Here along Iran, along Persia. Where is this Red Sea? We've seen Red Sea. Where is Gulf of Aden? We've seen Gulf of Aden also. So these are the important seas that UPSC keeps on asking questions. I have tried to cover that for you. So we have done this part. We've done this part. Okay, this one. Okay, the part about Mediterranean. I'll just elaborate everyone for you. You have the Mediterranean. You can see Mediterranean. You can see Corsica and Sardinia. Tyrrhenian Sea, Sicily, Ionian Sea, Adriatic Sea, Greece, Aegean Sea, the Dardanelles Strait, the Sea of Marmara, the Bosporus Strait, the Black Sea, and the Sea of Azov. Why this has been in the news? Because this is Ukraine and this is Russia. There's Russia-Ukraine war that has been going on. That there was Russia-Ukraine issue that was going on, and that was there in news. So you should know. Even you should know that Turkey is between the Mediterranean Sea. Turkey. You should know that Turkey is between the Mediterranean Sea and the Black Sea. So this is the part of Turkey. Turkey is between the Mediterranean Sea and Black Sea. Turkey is also between the Aegean Sea and the Black Sea. Turkey is also between Levantine Sea and Sea. There was also a question that was asked, what are Levantine states? Levantine. This was asked in UPSC. What do we mean by Levantine? So you also have a Levantine Sea. Levantine means rising. Levant states. Levant means rising sun. So it has to be on the eastern side. The eastern side. Levant states. Okay. So this is about your region and the questions that UPSC keeps on asking. Okay. Now moving on to the next one. The next one that you have is the port of Ust-Luga. Now Russia has blamed Ukraine for an attack that started a fire at the gas terminal at Ust-Luga port of the Baltic Sea. Okay. Now we saw this part. Now I'm seeing the other part of the Europe. The other part of Europe. Moving on to the northern part of Europe. In the northern part of Europe also you have lot of seas. You can see. This is the northern part of Europe. You have Norway, you have Sweden, you have Finland. Between Norway, Finland and Sweden, between the Norway, Finland and Sweden, you can see this is the Gulf of Bothnia. Okay, let's see this way. This is the Baltic Sea. This is the Baltic Sea. Just below the Finland, you have the Gulf of Finland. The Gulf of Finland. To the west of Finland, you have the Gulf of Bothnia. You have the Gulf of Bothnia. And you also have the Gulf of Bohemia, but that is fine. You should know about the Gulf of Bothnia, the Gulf of Finland, the Gulf of Bothnia and the Gulf of Finland. And you should know about the Baltic Sea. So if I actually try to draw a map here, so this part we've seen Africa, we have seen the Mediterranean Sea, Tyrrhenian Sea, Adriatic Sea. Here, as you move north to this part of Europe, the northern part of Europe, this is the part we are focusing upon, the northern part of the Europe, this one. This is the Baltic Sea. You have the Gulf of Finland. So if I elaborate this here, see this one, the northern part, the Baltic Sea and the Gulf of Finland. The Baltic Sea and the Gulf of Finland. This is Denmark. Here you have two strait, the Strait of Kattegat, the Kattegat Strait and the Skagerrak Strait. So you have this one. On the northern part of Europe, we have Baltic Sea, we have Gulf of Finland, we have Strait of Kattegat and the Strait of Skagerrak. Take it, this one. This is the same one. This is the same one that I'm elaborating. Yeah. The Baltic Sea. This is the Baltic Sea. This is Denmark. This is Skagerrak Strait. This is the Kattegat Strait. Okay. This is the Gulf of Finland. You have the Gulf of Bothnia here. I'll just write it for you. This is what? This is the Gulf of Bothnia. This is the Gulf of Finland. This is the Baltic Sea. Okay, you can see this is the Gulf of Riga. You have Riga here. Riga, Baltic Sea, Gulf of Bothnia. You have Skagerrak Strait. We have Strait of Kattegat. Okay. This is here. Here you have Ust-Luga. This one is Ust-Luga. Now this Ust-Luga port, Russia says that Ust-Luga port there was an accident there, but that was a strategic thing that was done by Ukraine. So Russia says that it has blamed Ukraine for there's a fire at the gas terminal at Ust-Luga, that is in the Baltic Sea. So it says that Ukraine is responsible for this one. Ust-Luga. Okay, you can see this clearly now. Ust-Luga here, St. Petersburg, Gulf of Finland, the Baltic Sea, the Gulf of Riga is here. You have Skagerrak and Kattegat Strait. You have the North Sea here. This will become, this side you will have Britain. So Britain, North Sea, the Straits, the Baltic Sea, Gulf of Riga, the Gulf of Finland, the Gulf of Bothnia. And near the Gulf of Finland, you have near the Gulf of Finland, the Gulf of Riga also. The Gulf of, and near the Gulf of Finland, you have this Ust-Luga port. Okay, so this is your there in news. So know about this one. Now, moving on. Ust-Luga plate is there in the Baltic Sea along the Finland Gulf in Russia. Along the Baltic Sea, along the Finland. Where is Baltic Sea? We've seen this one. Now, Baltic Sea. What is Baltic Sea? This one. It's an arm of the Indian Ocean. The Indian Ocean. It is also one of the largest expanse of the brackish water. There are a lot of countries that are along the Baltic Sea. You should know about the countries. The countries that you have along the Baltic Sea. There are about 9 countries that you can see along the Baltic Sea. You can see these countries. The countries that you have is Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia. Okay. You can see this one. You can see Finland, Denmark, Sweden, okay, Russia, Poland. Okay. So I have done this short form. What is the short form? DGP. You know the IPS officers? DGP. You have ELALI and FRS. DGP, ELALI and FRS. What is DGP? You have DGPs Denmark, Germany and Poland. What is ELALI? Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. And what are FRS? Russia, Sweden and Finland. So there are 9 countries. DGP, ELALI, FRS. D is Denmark, Germany, Poland. E is Estonia, La is Latvia, Li is Lithuania. Then you have Russia, you have Sweden and you have Finland. We can also have a picturesque memory here. What are the Gulf? You've seen Gulf of Bothnia, you've seen Gulf of Finland, you've also seen the Gulf of Riga. You've also seen the Gulf of Riga. So what are the countries that you have along the Baltic Sea? This is the Baltic Sea. You will see Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. ELALI, F, Finland, Russia. Finland, Sweden and Russia. And what do you have? DGP. This is Denmark. You have Poland and Germany. You have the Poland and Germany. So these are the countries that you have along the Baltic Sea. I'll just mark it for you. E, La, Li. You have Russia. You have Sweden. You have Finland here. You have Poland here. You have Germany here. You have the Denmark here. And if I talk about the Gulf, this is the Gulf of Riga, this is the Gulf of Finland, the Gulf of Bothnia. This is sufficient for your Baltic Sea and the things that have been there in the news. So this was about your, so next in news that we have is, again you have this one in news, that is your Ukraine. We've already seen this part. We've already seen this part of Ukraine. I'll just elaborate once more. So what is there in news in Ukraine? So this one. One minute, please. Yeah. Here, I told you, along the Azov, along the Sea of Azov, you have this as Ukraine part. So about Ukraine, this is along the Black Sea, you can see, along Black Sea, Russia part. So this one. Okay. So if I talk about the region of Ukraine, this is the region of Ukraine. Now, why this has been there in news? Especially, there are important cities that have been there in news. There have been a lot of political violence. There have been a lot of political violence along the major cities of Ukraine. The major cities of Ukraine, lot of political violence. And one of the, what are the, you should know about this one. Petrovsk, Donetsk, there have been violence here. There have been violence here at Luhansk. So important cities where there have been violence. There also was violence at Odessa. So Odessa, Dnieper, Donetsk, Luhansk. There's a lot of political violence that have taken place in Ukraine here. Okay, so Dnipro. Why news? We are talking about Dnipro. This is your Dnipro that you can see. Dnipro, Petrovsk. There have been violence here. This is along important river, that is Dnieper River. Dnieper River ke paas. That's the confluence of Samara River. It is one of the largest city of Ukraine. You have Odessa as largest one. You have Kharkiv. You have Kiev city. This Kiev city. This Kharkiv city, Odessa, and Dnipro. These are the four largest ones. So Dnipro is the fourth largest one. So there have been violence. It is also known for its industrial significance. There are heavy industries. There are vehicle launching stations, the producing vehicles. You have cast metal, iron machinery. You have agriculture. So iron and steel industries. Lot of heavy industries are also there. So now this Russia-Ukraine issue is going on. So you should also know about Dnipro and Dnieper River and the other important places that have been there in news. Moving on. So the next in news that we have is 1 minute, please. Yeah. The next in news we have is the Failaka Islands. Now, Failaka Island, this is in news with respect to the petroleum reserves that have been found. So this is the Failaka Islands along the Arabian Gulf here. Along Kuwait Petroleum Corporation, they have announced a significant discovery of an oil field along the Kuwaiti island of Failaka. So Failaka Island is a Kuwaiti island. It is there in the northern hemisphere. It is situated along the Persian Gulf. You now know where is Persian Gulf. We've seen along Iran. This is the Persian Gulf that you have. So this along Persian Gulf, you have seen an island that is called as Failaka Islands. Therefore, where is it? You should know it somewhere in the West Asia. See what basic questions they can ask. Where is Delos Island? You should know somewhere along the Adriatic Sea. Where is Failaka? You should know along the Persian Gulf. You should know about Mount Merapi, the places of it. Some in South Asia, some in West Asia, some in around the European region. You should know basic part. Okay. Bohai Gulf. What is this Bohai Gulf? You know that along the world, in the world map, you have a very famous dominant country, China. Along the eastern part of the China, between China and this Korea part. This is North Korea, this is South Korea, this is China. There is a sea that is called as Yellow Sea. Along the Yellow Sea, there is a bay, Bohai Bay or the Bohai Sea. Bohai Bay and the Bohai Sea. Now what has done? UNESCO has basically classified this Bohai Gulf. The Bohai Gulf, they have classified this Bohai Gulf or Bohai Bay as what? As an important as a site of important migration for the birds. So migratory bird sanctuary has been recognized along the Yellow Sea, Bohai Gulf region. This is also known as the Gulf of Chile or Gulf of Pichili. Yellow River, which is the China's second largest river, empties into this gulf. This area is rich in petroleum and it is also famous for petroleum refineries. It is famous for petroleum refineries as well. So this one, the Bohai Gulf or the Bohai Bay. Now moving on, the next that we have in news is Golan Heights. This is the Golan Heights. You should know about the Golan Heights. Again, you'll see to the eastern side of the Mediterranean, you have Israel, you have Lebanon and you have Syria. Okay, you have Israel, Lebanon and Syria. To the eastern part of the Mediterranean, here in between them you have a disputed region, that is your Golan Heights. So Golan Heights, is UPSC has asked a question before. It's a rocky plateau that is bordering Syria and Israel. Okay, it is on the northern side. You have a mountain, a famous sacred mountain, that is Mount Hermon. To the eastern side you have rivers. To the southern side also rivers, and to the west side also you have Jordan River. So here you have Jordan River, here also river, here also river, and here on the northern part you have the Mount Hermon that is there in news. So this is the thing that we have in news. Let me just complete this for you. I'll just give you a brief overview of what we have done so that you have a basic idea. You have the basic idea of what we have completed so far. what all things we have done on the world map and where are they located, where are they located. So if I talk about this part, so this is what we've done. Yeah, what all region we have done with respect to the world map. If I talk about the world map, we've looked at this region of the world, the Mediterranean Sea, the Ionian Sea, Tyrrhenian Sea, Aegean Sea. You've looked at this. You've also looked at this part, the Persian Gulf, the region along the Kuwait, also the Persian Gulf and the region along the Kuwait. You've also looked at this part, that is your Yellow Sea, Bohai Bay, the Yellow Sea, the Persian Gulf part, the Mediterranean Sea, and the other region. You've also looked at the Baltic Sea part. So Baltic Sea, Mediterranean Sea, the other seas along Kuwait, Persian Gulf, the Bohai Basin. You've also looked at the Southeastern Asian part, Mount Merapi. So important seas of the world. We also have an idea about, along with Mount Merapi, we have an idea about the part of the Pacific Ring of Fire. The Pacific Ring of Fire. You have an idea about the Great African Rift Valley and the Victorian Lake. So what we've done is we've handpicked the places in news from various parts of the world. Let it be West Asia, let it be Africa, let it be along the Southeast Asia, the China region, the Pacific Ring of Fire. So we've handpicked along the world the important places in news and we've tried to cover this thematically. We'll come up with more such videos for India and the various other parts of the world. So I hope you like this video. Thank you for staying with us. Thank you for connecting with us. So this is from our side. All of you, thank you. Bye bye. Take care.